Right. Well, thanks everybody for coming. Today's annual meeting is going to go through the state of Crashspace, year in review, membership report, financial report, and the election results, of course, and any member business that anyone would like to go into. I guess to go ahead and kick things off, the state of Crashspace, none other than our wonderful president, Liz.
Thank you. So welcome everybody. This is our 2022 annual meeting, and we last met September 2021. And so just to think about how we have adapted to the pandemic over the past year, which is still ongoing, but thinking about how we have adapted with hybrid events and virtual events has been great. There was definitely a few times last year towards the end of the year where there was only like a couple of people in the space at a Tuesday meeting, but most of the attendees were virtual. But we're seeing more recently that we have pretty equal attendance in person and virtual, which has been great. We have had people come by the space, just walking past Crashspace or Googling us. And so the fact that we're still being searched out is really cool. And people are definitely interested in what Crashspace can offer in terms of community and also tools and the actual physical space. Recently, we attended and participated in the Orange County Maker Fair, which is really cool. And I'm excited. Thank you, Barb, for organizing that. I'm excited to see what other events we can participate in the future as things open up and more events happen in person. Overall, I feel like Crashspace is going strong. I feel like membership, we haven't really waned much. And the community is great and active, and it's been really cool to see people's projects and the Tuesday meetings and all the various events that have been happening and have resurged. So like Coding Social is back on the calendar. Grant is doing Robo Sundays. So seeing more events on the calendar in general is great. And yeah, I think we're doing really well. I think that's the state of Crashspace.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you. Moving along, we will go into the 2021 year in review. Onto you, Theron.
Okay, give me a sec. I have a little slideshow presentation. Let's see how this works. And some of it's going to look familiar because there we go. All right, so yeah, I just made a little presentation, Crashspace year in review. 2021. So this is covering the calendar year 2021. And again, a lot is going to feel familiar because like Liz said, last year was really a transition year for us because we started out closed due to the pandemic. And then we really shifted into a virtual mode and spent a good, the first half of the year, completely virtual. And then we started slowly reopening the space and engaging in hybrid events, and then got back to being truly in person by the summertime. So some of the events, a lot of new events and a lot of sort of retaining the old ones. The weekly meetings continued without skipping a beat. Deep Fried Neurons wasn't strictly speaking a Crashspace thing, but so many Crash people were involved that it kind of felt like a Crash event. The Wearables Wednesdays started out virtual and continues on in the real world space. Levi managed to continue the video dim sum stuff. We had the Neuroscience group continued, and we had a couple different D&D game things going on during the year, I think. So that was great. And then we sort of had, as we were able to start meeting in person, we started having more hybrid events, and then the return of the in-person events. Some of the new events there, Joshua started the creative writing group, which I think has been going really interestingly, and Cardboard Cabal, which is, I think, a great event. And then we had the 3D printer stuff start up again. We had a machining class, a short, limited scope machining class, which was really great. And I hope we're able to do those again. And Circuit Social continued. And then the robotics meetup, robotics meetup, like I said. So look, it's a Roomba with a camera on it. So this was the kind of the result of the robotics meetup. It got documented very nicely by Andrew. on the Haxer, and it's kind of a telepresence video robot. I think the hope was it could potentially be useful for the virtual or hybrid events, but it's pretty cool on its own. And then group project that occurred at the beginning of the year created this really great Justin Corwin tribute infinity mirror, which turned out just beautiful. It's got a little display on it that displays little quotes from Justin, and it just kind of sits there above the big button on the wall where everyone can see it, and just continually doing its thing. We also did an art show, Art Happens, which was kind of meant to celebrate Crash's 10-year anniversary, although granted a year and some a little late, but that's okay. We had a lot of contributions from members, but also the public, which was really cool. And it's still up. The gallery's still there. You could actually go visit and watch and walk around the gallery. So it's still up. You can still walk around, listen to the music, look at the artwork, and all that good stuff. Open Path, who employs a lot of our members, gifted us a access control system. So we have that on the front door now, which is cool. Gives us lots of good capabilities. We can open up the space for non-keyed members who are hosting events, and also gives us a remote door warning when the door is left open, which is really nice. So that's been a really great thing as well. And it kind of leads into Sammy's exceptionally generous donation of, well, it's a weird number, but it's 2 times 31,337, which I guess at least makes sense for him. And the donation is earmarked to increase the capacity or the capabilities of Crashbase. And so Steve, as facilities manager, is heading up the looking into this and the preparation for it. And we are looking at getting a large laser cutter and I believe some welding capability. And also thought it was worth pointing out that our friend Odd J got featured on the cover of Make Magazine last year, which is super cool in very J fashion. So, and speaking of which, we also launched the sponsored membership program in 2021, where we're offering free sponsored memberships, 6-month memberships to people who are deserving people based on either financial need or merit. So if they would be members of the space, but for whatever reason they can't afford it, or if they're working on some cool stuff, we are granting out 6-month keyed memberships to people to be able to come use the space and then hopefully share what they do with it. And the first member right at the end of the 2021, our first sponsor member was Odd J, who, as I just showed, got featured on the cover of Make Magazine. This is paid for out of the Space Sponsorship Fund, or Member Sponsorship Fund. It's basically all built on donations. So I put the link there. If anybody who's able to and wants to help with this program can make either a one-time or recurring donation. And that helps us to sort of, with the money we need to help sponsor other members. We also started talking to the people at the historic Fire Station 62, which is an old abandoned fire station in Del Mar, or Mar Vista, sorry. And they want to restore it and turn it into a community center. And we've been talking with them about potentially opening up a Crashbase location inside that would be there where we could do public events and have larger space for tools and projects. And this is ongoing. The discussions are ongoing. It's very slow going. May or may not happen, but that is something that we started working on last year as well. And member projects. This isn't the only project that members worked on last year, but it was by far the best documented. So that's why I'm including a picture over here. Andrew did this really cool toy rocket ship, spaceship control panel thing. as a present, and wrote up a very nice wrote up a nice summary of it. So this is mostly, I put this here as a reminder to everyone: document your projects, and if anyone has projects from 2021 that they would like to include in the annual report when it gets published, please send it to me, theron@crashbase.org, or send it to the board and to board@crashbase.org, because we need pictures of stuff and whatnot. There are a lot of things, if you go through the meeting notes from the Tuesdays, a lot of things people showed off that seemed pretty cool, but we don't have a lot of concrete documentation of it. And that was what I had. So just wanted to say thank you. And that was kind of my review of CrashSpace in the year 2021.
Thank you, Theron.
Thank you, Theron.
Was a good year, all things considered. Despite having to do so many virtual and hybrid events, yeah, a lot of stuff happened with Crash. Well, moving along to Josh with our membership report.
Hi, everyone. I've got a little bit more detailed membership report this time. I was hunting up some of the information for the 2021 membership so that I could do a year-to-year comparison, and it ended up with a big slideshow, so I thought, yeah, well, might as well. Let me see if I can do this from the meeting. Yeah, sure, here we go. Okay, yes, that's showing up. Excellent. Okay, so very quick, this is going to be a membership report of where we are now and where we were a year ago, and I'll do some more historic comparisons. So this is where we are as of late October 2022, 75 members. Here's the breakdown. I'm going to provide these slides to the members list so that people can look over it in more detail later. It has a bunch of information while Kurt and I have been watching fairly carefully. In short, year on year, we are in very good shape membership-wise. We have 16 keyed members and 59 so-called regular members, and we have 5 lifetime members. So the breakdown looks really good, and we're very healthy. So compare it to last year. We were at 72 members, which you'll note is 3 less. So we've actually grown in members. 1 additional keyed member, 2 additional regular members. And one of our keyed members was moved to a lifetime member. So I think that's actually 2 additional keyed members technically. I'll have to look at how those are being calculated on the back end, but that is where we are right now. Now, the numbers are very interesting from end of year last year, because you'll see that September last year and December last year were pretty much the same. But if we go back to actually end of December 2020, was when I was panicking a little bit about the membership numbers, because we were all the way down to 65 members, which is 10 fewer than we have today, and that we had just before the end of 2020. The last bit of 2020 was very bad. So to compare, we are in incredible shape right now. We weathered the worst of the storm, I think, of losing members because we were physically not open. And year on in 2022, we have an additional key member, 2 additional regular members, and you saw Theron's report on 2021, all the exciting things we got to then. So I think that we're going to have a lot of exciting, especially hybrid and virtual events out of 2022 as well. We're in good shape. People have been taking advantage of the hybrid event structure, depending on what's most convenient to them. And our regular membership has grown, I think, in great part because of that, not only over the last year, but over the last 2 years. So once again, showing the usefulness of having that regular membership model, especially for people who are attending virtual events. So my conclusion here is that CrashBase has continued to retain members incredibly well during the pandemic. virtual meetings very well could have been a key in our membership retention, especially over the last year. And our hybrid events should possibly be considered the standard now. So if someone says there's an event, I think a lot of people assume that there'll be a camera on this in the space that they can attend via, and that they will at least be able to see, even if it's a very noisy space, they'll at least be able to see and hear what's going on. And hopefully, people who are setting up these meetings will also work it out in such a way that people who are attending virtually can contribute, can comment, can join the conversation and ask questions as appropriate. So we probably want to look into additional resources for that. Sam and I have been looking into setting up a Raspberry Pi to replace the current meeting computer that would have a little bit more flexibility. We would get potentially 2 cameras, one that would mount on the wall and one that would put on a stick, so like a selfie stick, so that people can like move it around during the meeting. If we can get that done, that would be pretty good. But that's not really that's more something we're doing as a technical project that we'll do a brief write-up if we succeed in it. But it would support hybrid meetings, which is why I'm bringing it up now, which I believe are one of the big victories that we've had during the pandemic. So that is my presentation. Let me stop sharing this real quick. If there are any questions, I can take them now. Otherwise, that's what I've got.
Oh, thank you, Josh. I think that's I think the virtual events have not, it wasn't maybe contributed to retaining members. I think it was absolutely key.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Josh.
Thanks everyone for supporting Crash Space, being a member.
Feels good to be going strong. Next up, we have our financial report. For that, Kurt, would you like to take it away?
Yes, thank you. So, boy, you guys put in lovely slideshows. So here I'm going to take over this for a second. Hang on. See if I can figure out how to do this again. You get used to being on Zoom, and there we go. All right, so here we have annual financial report for 2021. I did not bring it out to 2022 because that's not the way we deal with things financially. So this first, in terms of cash assets, this is a snapshot of how we were doing at the end of 2021. The important number here is the total, which is, over $210,000. If we compare that to 2020, you can really see the difference, which was just about $128,000. So financially, we're doing great. But let's examine why we're doing great. The substantial increase in cash assets last year was mainly due to 2 large donations that were made at the end of 2021. First one, which was mentioned, was from Sammy Kamkar. And again, this is for essentially new equipment purchases and building out the infrastructure. And it's important for that that 80% of that is earmarked for that infrastructure plus additional equipment purchases. So there is some that can be used. The numbers here are what actually had happened by the end of 2021. And with that, Steve Goldstein has been doing yeoman's work to do that, to get things ready, including expanding our workspace to include the storage container, which was purchased this year, which would be 2021. And I know that, as mentioned, current plans include the larger laser cutter. In addition to this major donation, another $25,000 was received from the ANSPAR Foundation. And this is a no strings attached donation. It's just a donation of $25,000. And we really thank Sammy and the Unspar Foundation, everybody involved with that, for these substantial and very generous gifts, which really, for right now, secure Crashbase's financial security, actually for the foreseeable future. Things that happened. 2021, we essentially wrapped up our response to COVID. It wasn't that COVID's over, it's that the things that we were able to help with, mainly the masks and the mask clips, face shields, there's sufficient production so that we don't need to have them 3D printed. We took just shy of $17,000 of the funds. Those were kept to partially defray our costs to administer this program. And one of the things you'll notice later is that as we go into the monthly breakdown for last year, the June 2021 expenses were very high because that was the wrapping up of the COVID response. And the money was, for the most part, received in 2020. The expenses were in 2021. It's just the way it worked. Again, we have Art Happens, which Theron mentioned. We ended up raising just over $330 at that celebration. Honestly, if it would have cost us $330, it still would have been a great buy. So I hope that we will continue with that and actually have other similar events in the future. I think that was a really good way of foregrounding what we do at Crash. Theron mentioned the sponsorship fund. I'm just going to repeat this about this. By the end of 2021, we had received just shy of $225 in gross donations. It ended up being about $215 in net, of which at the time we had allocated $583, which means it was in the hole. But do keep in mind, this is sort of artificial money. We never intended for the sponsorship fund to operate in the black or break even. That being said, please, I encourage you to, if you can, do sponsor members. It has made a very great change in their lives. And you can see that people have posted on Crash's blog about the projects that we're able to do. And I think this is a good way to give back to the community and also to help with Crash's mission and to reach out to basically underserved parts of the community. Nothing in here is dealing with the fire station yet. That will be something that will come up. If not in 2022, then 2023. There's going to be a lot of financial planning regarding that. So now if we go into the cash flow summary, let me see if I can get this bigger because that's very small. Let's see. There we go. All right. So again, as you see here, there are several months that we're actually operating in the black, or in the red rather, in there, mostly having to do with, as you see, it says program and services. Well, included in that program and services is our COVID response. Again, all of the income came in 2020. All the expenses were a substantial amount of the expenses were in 2021. This was exceptionally bad. You see here in June, I can't get that to light up correctly, where it looks like we were just doing horribly, but in fact, all that happened is that all of the postage was accounted for on that month because of the weirdness of our accounting. Looking at the year-to-end date, one of very concerning figure is that seems to be our membership dues. Remember that we had a membership blip. Well, that membership blip showed up a year later because of the way the structure is, and this is something that would be a concern, but it doesn't look like it's continuing. I think we're in line to be closer to $50,000 in membership dues this year, which should cover our expenses. So I'm going to stop sharing that. That's the state. The bottom line is we are doing very well financially, substantially because we have had two very large donations, and that will do well. Now, in terms of what the risks are, our membership numbers continue to look good, so there's no risk there. I don't think that's going to be shifting. The biggest question always has to do with the space, which is why we have so much money sort of stockpiled, because we are on a month-to-month rental agreement, and if the landlord decides that we should go, then it will be very expensive for us to move, and the new space will be a lot more expensive. That being said, one of the things dealing with the fire station project is, first of all, it will be very inexpensive for us to stay there. So inexpensive that there is no compelling reason for us to close down the existing space. So it would be having both concurrently, and that would allow us a very soft landing if the current space, we aren't able to stay there. And if anybody has any questions, otherwise, we look good for 2021.
I've got a quick question.
Yes.
If we were to find a space that was 40% more expensive than our current space, but it was available now, is that something we want to proactively go towards, just as an example? Is this something that, like, if people who are interested in, real estate, new locations, whatever, were out there and saw a place and inquired about what it was, and it turned out to be, 50% more, is that something we would be interested in doing, financially speaking?
Not if it was the same size.
Okay.
There are compelling reasons for us to want to grow, because
Right.
I think part of the issue with membership actually has to do with saturation and availability of equipment, and working out something there and building out a space that is more convenient in terms of is definitely worthwhile. If we were to pay 40% more on rent, we could probably absorb that, because we pay very little for rent. But I don't think we're looking for even the equivalent space if we move being only 40% higher. We're probably, because I've checked, and for the same square footage, the cheapest I saw was 4 times higher.
What is their square footage?
Well, that's actually an interesting thing to be able to tell. At the time, I figured it at just shy of 2,000 square feet.
Oh no, we're 1,200, not including the container.
Well, that's the issue had to do with the availability of parking.
Got it.
So,
Right. But yeah, Crash is right now 1,200 square feet.
Well, it's 1,200 for the building, and then we have the back shed, which is usable, and there's issues I mean, the question is whether we would be able to put in the storage, the storage container, store it on the property, and such. There are a lot of things right now. Unless the space was substantially better, I don't see any reason for us to not just continue, with what we got. It's not something I'm worried about happening in a second. I think that what we are worried about is the current owner, who is not young, but he's not ancient, but he's not young. I think after he passes away, probably the building will be sold, and we will not be able to remain there.
Got it. Yeah, I was just thinking about, like, this space is approximately twice as large. It looks like it's 4 times as much as our current space, which would be twice as much as our current space is. For example, and it's just down the street on Venice. So, do we want to start scouting? That's a question I think people should start thinking about. There's been a lot of development in that area. I don't know if people who haven't been there recently have seen, but there's a giant mixed-use space that went up just past the church on the very next block. And all of the stuff that was on the block in the other direction, that's westbound on Venice, on the same side of the street by the gas station, between basically the gas station and the auto shop on the corner, all that stuff burned down. There were homeless people living there, and the fire started, and all of that stuff's burned down, which to me rings a lot like that's about to be purchased and turned into more, mixed-use commercial space or something. So our space is protected by 2 different doctor's offices and a church that looks to be organization owned. So I don't know how much risk we are of getting snapped up, but maybe it's something to look at. The people wander around town on the regular basis, and finding something with like a roll-up garage like entrance would be really cool. Finding stuff with more space would be cool. The one that I just linked there, for example, has no parking. Like, it technically is as much parking as we currently have, but its street parking for that location is even worse. So, but it does look like we could, like, roll the shipping container, and put it like right in front of that roll top door or something, or twist it around so they face each other or something. Anyhow, something to think about, because I'm a little worried that the area is being developed up again, and there's like 3 different, luxury apartments in mixed-use apartment condo spaces that have gone up in a 3-block radius in the last 2 or 3 years. So, something to think about.
Yep, we are.
We constantly think about this.
Yeah, and we have a member who, if we find the perfect space, might come forward for us.
Nice.
And help us out.
Yeah.
The one I linked is not the perfect space. That's a little bit of a jury-rigged panic move to that space, maybe. But yeah.
But I think it's fair that anybody who does find a spot that they think is compelling in some way, definitely raise it up. We should always be thinking about it, always be looking.
Certainly. And good considerations to be had. But if there are no other questions on the financial report, Kurt, then moving on to the election results myself. Let me go ahead and share out. So we have our ballot results. Congratulations, of course, to our 3 nominated board members, Rachel, Josh, and Liz. Thanks so much for joining on to the board. It's steering the direction of the organization. Our one contested position, of course, was president, and I think that we were lucky to have 2 excellent candidates, but as the votes would have it, our president is going to be Liz. Congratulations. And the remaining positions are Vice President Barb, CFO Kurt, Secretary myself, Membership Chair Josh, and Facilities Chair Steve. So congratulations all.
Yay!
Yep.
I want to know how Liz got 2 more votes on something where there were only 3 candidates for 3 positions. That,
I think the select 3
Yeah,
might have
it
been
was-
missed by some people.
it was probably optional. Yeah.
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 But-
So.
Or does she cast the tie-breaking vote? Is that?
No, there were. It was the way the votes were cast.
Mm.
Thank you for everyone for voting, because we wasn't completely clear we were going to hit quorum on that, but we did, with a little bit of wiggle room to spare. And thank you to Chi, who is an outgoing director, and also Sean for serving as director and continuing to serve on as secretary. So yeah, that's I think the Crash Space is in good hands moving forward.
Absolutely. That's our election results. Moving along to any member business. Any member business that anyone would like to bring up at this point?
Oh, there was something real quick. There was a complaint about the taste of the water that had been brought to my attention. Steve's already on it. He's got a filter replacement. That's going to be our immediate action to resolve that. So
Yes. Yeah.
it doesn't taste the worst, but it tasted better previously. So
Yeah. The filters were ordered and actually, will be received Tuesday.
Okay.
So and installed.
Excellent. I guess I can read out. Grant had some notes that he wanted to share that he couldn't. He apologizes he couldn't make today's meeting, but he had some notes about the CNC class, which has, of course, garnered a lot of interest, and which we are in the process of bringing back. So Grant's notes about the CNC class are: the new enclosure and dust boot are on the way from ShopBot, thanks to Steve. The new shop vac is at Crash, thanks Theron. Grant had purchased a bucket top cyclone dust separator from Harbor Freight. There's a new hose or hoses that may be needed for the vacuum. He will assess that soon. The MDF and nuts have been set aside for a new spill board. And Grant had found the files to cut the new board under Emily's project files on the CNC computer. Josh is and or was checking up on the old class slides and notes. Thanks, Josh. Grant has a pretty good idea of what he wants to cover in the class and will review his notes from when he took the course in depth. And we could probably use a new starter set of end mills, given that the current ones have seen many years of community use. But overall, things are proceeding with that. And he apologizes again, he couldn't be present.
Okay. That's all good news.
Mm-hmm. Is there any other member business anyone would like to bring up at this time?
Let's see. Well, what's going on with facilities is we as we just said, new water filters are coming. They wore out faster than we anticipated, but as Barb has mentioned in the past, our crash-based water is terrible. So it's
we also had some other plumbing related stuff that could have caused like a rain of like rust or something to enter the system to block it up extra or something. It's not clear.
Yeah. So anyways, but that's taken care of. We are getting a new fixed rotary tool that's going to be set up in the laser room, and that's going to happen in the next week or so, 10 days. And we are moving. And plans are moving forward for the for the container rehab, so we can order up the laser.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve.
just let us know whenever anyone comes up with the idea of doing a mass cleaning, and you'll have my axe.
And
I'd
my
like to
truck.
second that.
We need Sean's pickup truck,
Yes, you have my truck.
and a trip to the recycling. All right.
It looked like Rachel, were you wanting to say something?
Yeah. So while we have this influx of cash, I have an equipment request that I've kind of run by some people casually. We're talking about having a risograph printing machine, which, for those that don't know what it is, it's kind of like a digital printer that's a cross between thermography and screen printing in a way. And it's great. A lot of people use it for zines, and I thought it'd be great to run a zine workshop. And it's the cost of a used one is pretty cheap. It's about $1,500, and I'm not quite sure about the cost of maintenance and expendables, but it's very the appeal is that it's a cheap means of printing. So I thought that would be something that would bring a lot of value to the space, and also maybe bring in some new members too, because there's like a big rise in interest in that right now.
Yeah, Rachel, if you wait a few minutes until you get inducted as a director, you can raise this at a board meeting and make a formal request.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure when to bring it up. So awesome.
No. Anytime is fine, but let's, unless there's any other member business, why don't we close out this meeting and then we have a brief board meeting to conduct where we have a little bit of business to deal with. So I move that we close the 2022 annual meeting.
All right. And is there a second from anyone on the board?
I second.
I think that was a yes from Aquil as well. So.
Oh, I only have 8 people displayed on my screen.
I didn't hear her, but I believe she said something.
Well, okay. We'll say Aquil second. And all right, with that, then we will adjourn this annual member meeting. Thanks so much, everyone. And we will commence the board meeting straight away.